And we are live. G'day everyone, Mike Jeffrey here, and you are listening to My Creative Journey, episode number 38. To all you new listeners out there, hello, and thank you so much for taking the time to stop by here today. As I said, my name is Mike, and I'm a photographer, podcaster, and small business owner based here in Sydney, Australia. Each week on the show, I bring you guys along on the highs and lows of my own creative journey and share all the knowledge that I've gained along the road to building my own small business. This week's episode is actually a guest episode, and I'm very excited about this one. I'm going to be speaking with Harry and Tommy from Bandwagon Australia. Now, Bandwagon are a sustainable clothing business based out of Newcastle, and we're going to be talking all about how they started their business. And they started their business last year, and how they've sort of grown that over the past 18 months, and what they're trying to implement in their own business to really stand out, and the things that they're trying to do to push themselves forward, whether that be marketing and all the other things that they're trying to do within their own community. So this is going to be a very interesting conversation, and I hope you guys can really gain a lot out of this one, because it was a great chat that I had with the boys, and I'm really glad and really grateful for them for actually hopping on the podcast this week. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into the episode. We're going to skip over the normal first half of this podcast. We're going to jump straight into the interview. I hope you guys gain a lot from this, and I'll be back to speak to you again at the end. Hey boys, how is it going?
Yeah, good mate. Real good. How are you?
Yeah, good mate. Real good to have you two on the podcast. It's been something that I've been really wanting to do for quite some time now. I've been thinking about being able to get other people on the podcast. So really nice to be able to get you two boys on here and just hear what you're all about. So really good to have you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us on.
Grateful. Are we the first guest?
No, you're not. Unfortunately, I've had a few, but that's a song. But yeah,
we're just joking, bro.
Still good.
Good.
I really wanted to start with you and your business and everything. So could you boys sort of explain what it is you do in your business?
Tommy, shoot.
Yeah, so pretty much we're just a sustainable clothing business. Just online at the moment. We don't have a shop front or anything. So just e-commerce business, just looking to make really cool sustainable clothes that are accessible for everyone, kind of thing. So we're trying to do like a large size range, and obviously try and keep prices accessible for the everyday Aussie.
Yeah, and we're just basically just trying to do content. As you see, Tommy's all over the Instagram and whatnot. As you reiterated on your Instagram the other day, mate, just making content and basically just being consistent. And Tommy's all over that. And basically just podcasting is just another avenue for us to, give people free content. And, whether it's through, we do our homeless stuff as well, or whether we're giving back or doing those things, it's just another avenue where we can use content. So that's probably where we're at the moment. And obviously we're in the warehouse now, which is a blessing to have. But hopefully we've got a couple of exciting things coming up where, things could change it. But obviously keep that held pretty close to us. But yeah, man, we're grateful for where we are at the moment.
Amazing. So I've got a few things to really jump into there, I guess. But I really wanted to start with how you guys started your business. So you guys started around the same time as I did, probably early last year, just as like a lockdown started. What was the idea, I guess, behind starting a business? Were you always interested in starting a clothing business, or was that an idea that just happened at the end? How long have you guys been talking about it for?
I reckon we were, before it began, probably a good year.
Yeah, I think it's
months, probably more.
When you were moving on from Canberra, we're probably chatting about then a little bit briefly. So just a bit of background. Obviously, Tommy and I played a bit of footy down in Canberra together. That's sort of where we met. But yeah, sort of Tommy's always been involved in fashion. He's always, always looked the freshest. And then, yeah, when I moved back from Canberra, jumped in with Tommy. We weren't sure if it was the right thing to do and
move in together.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a couple of beers. Obviously, when I think just as lockdown started, we launched our website, our first drop
collection. Yeah.
Which is exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah. It was kind of probably a good thing at the time, because we had so much to learn, and just being in lockdown gave us the time to learn it. Obviously, we didn't have to, or we couldn't work or anything, or work our normal jobs. So gave us a bit of time. But yeah, I reckon it was a good 12 months of talking about it and throwing the idea out there before we pulled the trigger.
But basically, yeah, just came around a couple of beers. Like it was pretty much just over a couple of beers, just like everyone else starts business.
That's how every good business starts.
But we sort of thought we'll put it on hold, and then there was just one random night where I still remember it. We were both sitting at the kitchen, and I was like let's do it. Let's just pull the trigger. And then we just got a couple of sample shirts with a dog on it, real random AS colour shirts, basic as you can. And then we sort of just rolled from there, Mikey J.
Amazing, mate. And so was that idea, as you said, you had that bit of a spark, it was just overnight. Was that after you guys went into like a lockdown, or was that earlier and it was already moving as lockdown happened?
A couple of months before lockdown happened.
Yep.
So probably a good thing too, that we got kind of the wheels moving just before lockdown happened because we got all of our
I think it might have
stock
been
in.
December. Yeah, we started like rolling.
Yeah.
Just because it would take 8 weeks to get our stock
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, and do all the kind of the business planning behind it, and then lockdown was kind of announced as we already had like a drop date for our collection, our first collection.
Yeah,
Cool.
that pretty much nails it.
Yeah. And so all that sort of planning, that would have had to been a lot more planning in your guys, your business. As you said, you wanted to start it off in that sort of environmentally friendly kind of way. Where was the idea for that? And was that always something that like both of you were always interested in, or was that something you tried to use in your own business to sort of like differentiate yourselves?
I think it's definitely probably one of our main differentiations as a clothing business. Obviously, the kind of the bar to starting a clothing business is pretty low, so heaps of people can get into it pretty easy. So differentiating yourself is pretty important. But I think it's just the way the world's headed as well. Sustainability is obviously a massive issue in everyone's lives. I think we've seen that even just, the uproar that was around plastic straws not that long ago. We saw how that impacted pretty much every pub you went to, having paper straws. So it's going to head that way in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on the ball on top of it. Plus, it's just a bit of an ethical thing for us.
Especially when Tommy was researching, and we were researching at the start, we found a couple of companies that are massive now that are starting to move towards that. Like they obviously didn't start with it, but they're trying to,
Become more
minimize their
sustainable.
waste and all that kind of thing now.
Yeah.
They're not 100% there, but they're obviously moving towards it. So I think that's where Tommy and I sort of said, let's move this avenue straight away, because it's obviously going to be a grind. So everything's a little bit more expensive. And that's just the way it is because, organic cotton and, your recycled polyester, it's a lot harder to find than what it is for your basic cotton stuff. So
It's really amazing what you guys have been able to do there in not only your actual clothing brand, but also your education you've been able to do around that. So was that something that you really had to drive home early on? Was that education around other people understanding why you were starting that in that ethical way?
Yeah, definitely, man. Educating ourselves first. We didn't know starting a clothing business. A lot of that was the research we were doing into clothing businesses. We found, how impactful the fashion industry is. It's the second worst polluter of all the industries in the world. So it's not a good rap to have. So obviously we wanted to start on the right foot where we could, and just educating our customers as to why it's important that we use the materials that we're using, and probably why our products are as expensive as they are, or at the price range that they're at. So
and obviously it opens up our eyes as well, because I think I can speak from our behalf when Tommy and I were buying stuff, previously we weren't looking at that. We weren't thinking anything about that.
Yeah.
And now when, I was just talking to Tommy about it before, even just buying locally, or just making sure something is sustainable or someone's giving back or something like that. I think it's good to look into things like that, because then it's obviously helping our cause as well. So
practice what you preach kind of thing.
Bless up.
Yeah, exactly. And really, as you were saying there, it's more expensive. I think it's expensive for anything that you guys would have previously been aware of, but I don't think it's that expensive in terms of the whole market out there. So where did you guys try to position yourselves within that market, and how was it in the beginning? Because you only had a smaller sort of a line at the start. Where was that entry point that you tried to squeeze into the market?
Yeah, that was a massive point. We don't actually have massive margins on our products because we're trying to keep it affordable. Just because we want to make it just more accessible to everyone. If we can get more people wearing, something that is sustainable, then all the better for it. So we just tried to keep it at a really kind of fair price point. I think we found that when we first started, we probably missed the beat on that a bit. We were trying to sell the hoodies for a bit too much.
Yeah.
And we kind of pull ourselves up on that now, and we found a much better price point for that. But it was kind of I think pricing is probably one of the most difficult parts of the business as a whole, man.
Shot Tommy.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It definitely is. I always find myself in that position of feeling like I'm not the ideal person who I'm trying to market to. So it's hard to sort of understand yourself on the other end of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spectrum.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep. And so you boys have obviously expanded your range over the sort of year and a half. Where was the starting point and what was the next things you wanted to sort of move on to?
Yeah, man. Obviously, just started with tees. We just wanted to see if we could sell them, I guess, to start off
I
with.
think we're lucky because the sizes we did go smaller, which were available for, obviously, gender. Obviously, it didn't matter. But, we had those smaller sizes and still do for that. But, yeah.
We just kind of wanted to, we always just want to grow and do the next cool thing that it's, a lot of it is just, the styles and the clothing that we enjoy, man. So moving into jumpers is obviously something we wanted to do. We love wearing our hoodies in winter.
Oversized tees.
Oversized tees is what we brought out, the latest collection, because this is just the things that we love, man. And I feel like that the more authentic we can be to the things that we actually like, it's only going to translate better when it comes into our own business, instead of just trying to do what we think is going to please people. I think, if you can just be true to what you actually like to do, everything's going to run better off the back of that.
Yeah, 100%. I find that always hard in business being, I always feel like I really enjoy heaps of different things, but I'm not really sure what other people will like. But I find that if I try to stick to the things that I like, I know there's an audience out there for that.
Absolutely,
type of stuff
I feel like if you
well.
can explain your niche and people can understand that through however you approach that or tell them, I feel like if they have an understanding of it, then they'll, be able to see where you're coming from as well. So
yeah, 100%. And it's just like people, I don't know, they can smell fake from a mile away, So if you're just trying to fake something that you don't even enjoy, you can, you can just see it coming from ages away. So you just got to try and be authentic about it.
Yeah, 100%. And you guys spoke about the education around the sort of environmentally friendly aspect of your clothing and stuff. Obviously, you had to educate yourselves, as you said, so it helps when you're actually interested in that sort of stuff. And as you say, like it's hard to be out there trying to educate others if you're not educating yourself or you're not at all interested. So it's been really good to be able to see what you guys have been able to produce in terms of that, because as you said in the start, you've been trying to produce a lot of content around that sort of stuff. Where has the idea come from that? Have you always had that sort of your background in producing that sort of content as well? Because I think that's one of the big things when people start a brand, they don't realize the other side of it in advertising themselves and working on all that brand sort of stuff. Did you guys have any background into that, or was that something you've just been like working on as you go?
Nah.
sink or swimmer.
Pretty much. In terms of our background, man, any kind of business avenue we didn't have much background in, so it was very much trial by fire for us. We just had to put, again, that's why we're lucky we were in lockdown, because we had the time to educate ourselves about business and what was needed. So, and to be honest, we're still doing that now. Like there's still so much to learn. We're miles behind of where we could be. So we're still trying to learn, still trying to get better.
Said something.
Always trying to go. Where is the next? There's the next avenue for you guys. Obviously, you've spoken. Like, you don't want to give all the ideas away, but is there anything for you guys expanding? Because you've obviously expanded a lot from where you were earlier on. You're obviously in your warehouse at the moment.
Yep.
Is there anything that you're aiming for next?
For me, the dream probably would be, whether it happens or not, we can move into a space where I can have, a barbershop, I can have my clothes, and we can have a space where Bandwagon is like a HQ kind of thing. We don't want to sell our stuff to other people. Like that's where we're at. We don't want to give, we don't want our stuff to be sold out of somewhere else. We want our stuff to be original, authentic. And whether that's a barbershop or whether it's a coffee shop or whether it's just something that's ours, there's some options at the moment where we could, push down that avenue. But obviously not putting all our eggs in the basket. But, we're pretty happy from where we've grown at the moment. Like coming from like a shed, which we're very grateful for. I just think clothing and barbering and just talking smack just all goes together, man, if I'm honest.
It fits in such a perfect culture together, especially barbering and clothing together. So it'd be awesome just to have kind of a shop front in that way, kind of mix the storage and the shop front in one. And we can just kind of express ourselves through that. Just
little things where people, if they get a haircut, they can try a shirt on, and then if they can't buy it now, they can buy it online because they know what size it is, you know what I mean? And it is hard because most of our shirts are the same except for our oversize anyway, so that's not an issue, but it's good for new customers and things like that as well.
And it is good that you guys have brought up, obviously, other things outside the business as well. Like you're not just trying to expand into try to make this your only only thing as it is at the moment. You brought up barbering. Are you able to explain a little bit more about that? Obviously, for those out there who don't know your background in that.
In barbering itself, is that what you mean? Yeah. So obviously, been barbering for 4 or 5 years now. Been grateful to cut both your boys' hair. So thank you for that. But I think barbering in itself, as a young fella, we didn't really have many barbers around home. So I think me being able to talk underwater and just being able to talk, out of my ear. So I think they just go together, and it's barbering something I'm passionate about, because I guess you can put it this way. In barbering, I can catch up with people without having to catch up with people, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't have to, obviously everyone's got a life and that kind of thing. So if I can have you in a chair for half an hour and I can, take something off your mind, or we can chat about something, or we can laugh about something, I think that's where I vision barbering. And that's obviously don't want to do it for the rest of my life. Don't get me wrong. But I think that for me is where I see, Bandwagon and myself for barbering. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great thing, because I often hear from a lot of different people about not trying to just sort of pigeonhole themselves into a particular area. And you guys have you work outside of your own business as well, and you have other interests and that type of stuff. It's great to see that you've been able to try to bring those things all into the business as well. You've obviously spoken about there sort of talking to other people, and I know a big thing for you guys has obviously been education around your mental health and things like that. Where did that sort of start for you guys, and was that something you really wanted to bring through the business, and do you see that as something you can try to push through that business and having that sort of platform to your wider audience?
Before we even had the idea to start a clothing business, specifically Bandwagon as a clothing business, Harry was already preaching. He already had the plan to donate some amount to mental health. So it's obviously an issue that affects everyone, and Harry's always been massively passionate about it. So it's been awesome for us to be able to donate 5% of our sales to Headspace.
Yeah.
And Harry's pushed that from before the start.
Yeah, and I guess barbering's a poor man's therapy, right? So I guess if you can put 2 and 2 together, don't get me wrong, it's 35 for a haircut, you can tell someone the world, or you can just there's some people that just don't even want to talk, and that's helping them as well. So I think mental health has been a big part of, especially rugby league as it is. Tommy and I are from that. We both moved on pretty much from that. So I think if we can help in any way, Tommy and I are happy to do that as well. So
absolutely.
I'm always someone who speaks about learning these types of skills, and you don't always know where these skills will end up. For you guys, you have obviously spoken about your education in the mental health space and being from people who've been in your rugby league and in barbering and all these sort of areas that you've been exposed to that sort of stuff. And it's been great that you've been able to educate, because I've been educated a lot by you guys as well. And I think opening myself up to being okay to sort of talk about those sorts of things, and you guys have spoken about it on your own podcast as well, in educating other people. So where did you see that being something that you wanted to focus on more with a podcast and things like that?
That's a good question, Mikey. I don't think we thought too much into that, but I feel like if we had the potential to open a barbershop, we could potentially do a men's, whatever it is, that ain't weak to speak, or just people being able to come in and share stories, no judgment, that kind of thing. But in terms of actually expanding mental health, Tommy and I don't have, I guess, a background in mental health. So if we could give opportunities for mental health speakers to come into a shop or whatever that may be, Tommy and I would definitely do that. But I don't think Tommy and I really have the capacity where we can sit there and say, we recommend this, we recommend that. I'm sure that's something we would love to do, but being honest with you, man, I just don't see how we could do that. We could definitely help and put in the avenues in place, but whether people want to come or not, that's another thing.
Yeah, I think we've always tried to push people in the right direction of, other organisations who specialise in this kind of thing and who can really help as much as we'd love to sit there and help, whoever we could, however we can. I'm not sure that some of our advice would always be the best. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's where we see it. Yeah, for sure.
I think you guys are already being able to open up that conversation already. Obviously, you're providing that service already, being able to open up the conversation. I find it hard because I've never been someone who's been always open about it, and I know others out there aren't always as open about it as well. So it's really good to be able to provide that and just show others that it is okay to be able to speak about those sorts of things. And I think that's been really good in what you guys have been able to do there.
Yeah, thanks,
I think we talk, as bad as it sounds, we talk rubbish about it as well. So like in terms of rubbish, a way of some people express, especially mental health, like we talk, rubbish about it. And I feel like that's worked for me. Whether it's Dino getting into me or whether it's Tommy getting into me about something, that helps too. I don't know if that's a barbershop vibe as well, but I feel like, that's how I see some people express if they don't want to.
I really wanted to go back now and I really wanted to ask a few questions. The first one being, where did the idea for your name of your business come from? Because it was something that I've always been intrigued by, and something that I think
names written down, bro. Like
it was just the best out of the 50 names that we had written down.
I don't even know. We had backseat, bro, like seatbelt, all these random. Like me and Tommy literally just had a couple of beers and we sat down and we were like, righto, let's jump on whatever it was, Canva or whatever, and let's just write some random stuff. I think there would have been 10 or something there, and then we just were like, bandwagon makes sense because we're just like, let's jump on the bandwagon. Back to it, let's jump on the bandwagon.
And it was something that we were saying a lot, at the time. It's something that's kind of pretty sports orientated as well, which we were. So it was just something we kept coming back to, and we couldn't argue over a name forever. So we just said,
well, the thing is, like at the end of the day, the name doesn't even matter. I think it was just the story that we had behind it that Tommy, that Tommy and I were able to put in words. I think, like if someone can read and understand what your business is about, they don't really care about the name, but just the fact that bandwagon is catchy, I think is a blessing in itself.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, for sure. And all your sort of like the designs and everything around that, has that all been something that you guys have done all on your own, or has there been like outside help with that?
No, we've done that all on our own actually. So I remember when we were doing our very first logo, and we wrote it down. I had bandwagon. We're trying to get a crown in there somewhere, and Harry just went, "Oh, just take away the W and put the crown there," and we put it there. And we're like, "Yep, tick, that's the one."
Yeah,
and just moved on from there.
We got lucky that just worked, I think.
Yeah, it worked perfectly.
And then we can just use that crown wherever.
Yeah, it's kind of like an easy little symbol to throw on everything. And no outside help really.
Yeah. So in designing, Tommy's the man. It's putting that together, especially Tommy will just bring some stuff to me and we'll sit down and we'll have a discussion about what will work and what won't. But yeah, Tommy's predominantly, sorting out the designs and all that kind of thing. He's very handy on the old laptop.
Yeah, and so in terms of sort of your partnership and everything, like where does that line up? Is it hard to be able to come up with all those ideas and sort of be able to agree on them, or do you each have your own sort of your roles and you work independent?
Where we're at now, like in terms of Tommy's established himself as a whiz on our designs and that kind of stuff, like in terms of especially ordering stuff as well. He's worked out, heaps on his own. And then I guess for me, I don't know, I feel like I'm more outside noise. Not to say that we're not doing everything, but I feel like, word of mouth is still massive.
Huge, yeah.
And Tommy's content is killing it. And then podcasting's it's going good, especially on Reels and things like that. It's beneficial for us. I think we're just working collectively really well together, and Tommy's really strong at what he does, and I feel like I'm pretty strong at what I do, which is talking smack and going to talk to other people and things like that. So
pretty much the face of the business.
Yeah, so I think very grateful for Tommy's very good at some things, and I'm good at other things. So I think we're very happy with the balance that we have, and grateful.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, for sure. So with your sort of content overall, I really wanted to speak on some different areas of where you guys are producing your sort of content. And you've obviously spoken about your word of mouth with advertising and that sort of stuff. It's obviously something I think about. A lot of my people who listen to this podcast obviously think about that sort of stuff. If you're trying to open your own business and think about areas in which you can advertise but also access your own clients and things like that, where do you guys see most of your clients sort of coming to you from? Obviously being an online business only, where is that? Is it more so your word of mouth, or is it online on those different sort of platforms?
It's starting to shift. Instagram pretty Instagram heavy, but I'd say at the moment it's still probably like 50-50 word of mouth.
Well, we still got returning customers as well, a lot of returning customers. And we've been grateful for when we started as well, because Tommy and I, we didn't really have a platform in terms of that. I think we just knew a lot of people and we were both in a lot of different industries.
Yeah, we just obviously Harry's from Dubbo, I'm from Jindabyne. We both moved to Canberra, so then we met a lot of people in Canberra. Then we both moved up to Newcastle. So you kind of cover a lot of ground there with just people you know. And we were lucky that, friends and family, especially with that first collection, they got around us. So from the start, or at the start, I suppose, it was mostly just word of mouth that really got us around. And it was, friends sharing our stuff and people helping us out that way.
Yeah.
And as we've kind of learned how to produce more content, better content, and kind of advertise a bit more through Facebook and Instagram, we've been able to get, people that we don't actually know to get around the brand, or people that don't know anyone that we know,
Yeah. I think it was cool come second and third drop, like there's boys that Tommy and I have gone to school with or, played footy with as kids where we haven't spoken to in years.
Yeah.
And just through that, they've come through and copped some merch, which is crazy. We're just reconnecting with people that we were once, mates with.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest parts, I think. I couldn't have said it better. Was just seeing someone that like you haven't spoken to since year 11 coming and trying to support you. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that in my own business as well, and I know I've had so much support from other people who I would have never expected to get support from. And I think a lot of people out there trying to open their own business are often afraid to start it because they don't think they have that support and don't think they have a community around them, where you'll be very surprised about who the types of people are who will support you and who is out there actually consuming your content that you didn't even realize was consuming your type of stuff.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I think was the scariest part of starting. I'm probably lucky that I had Harry, who's just so energetic and impulsive to kick us off. I would have been way too scared to start. Way too scared to start. So, and that's just another thing. You can't be afraid to ask for help in these kind of things. Just reach out and ask, because so many people out there are going to put up their hand to come and help.
Yeah, I think another thing is don't rely on people to buy stuff as well. So I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if with you, mate, I'm sure someone said they'll cop some artwork or they'll cop something along the way. Yeah. And then man, I don't know how many people before we do a drop or something like that, people message like, oh, can you get it to us now? Can I cop this now? And then they won't get anything. Like, it's not an issue for anything like that, but it's just like, you just be wary that I feel like people that we don't know as well as we know those people cop more, which is crazy. It's probably through Tommy's content and stuff like that as well, which has been really beneficial for us. But yeah, I just feel like that was a massive learning curve for me.
Yeah, especially when you see people face to face and they're like, oh, I love what you guys are doing. I'm going to buy something tomorrow.
All the boys, I've played footy with along the way. It's all good, man. We don't care if you don't buy our stuff. It's not an issue at all.
Right. You don't have to say
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'd just rather you be honest with me up front.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. I often get those messages being like about artwork and stuff. Like, I'm happy to order one and then I add it up and I never hear from them ever again. And I'm okay with that. I don't expect you to buy anything, but it's like...
Even just sharing stuff or doing things like that, like, we're grateful for. So.
Yeah, you don't have to buy it, just,
Costs $0 to support your mate as well, so...
And as you said, like, it's always the people who are just that one step further who you wouldn't have expected to be there. And I think that comes from you being so out there on your social media and on all these different things that people are feeling like they're actually inside your own community there. Like they're actually feeling included in all your stuff. Is that something you try to do with all your content and things like that? Try to bring people into everything that it is like you try to do there?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, just trying to create a community is probably...
I think that's cool with the VIP list and stuff we do before we drop as well.
Yeah, the pre-sales for the VIPs and things like that. Yeah, just trying to create value for other people and that community is probably one of our main priorities. Harry's just one of the friendliest, happiest, energetic people as well. So it just makes it easy to get that. Like, people are just drawn to the man. So creating that community is easy. You feel like you've known Harry for 6 years when you see him on one video. So
yeah, that's it. I'll tell you my life, even if you don't want to hear it.
And has that been something behind the podcast as well? Like, I think for me, being able to open up more into my own life has really helped me in my business as well. Like, you wouldn't expect that to really help in business, but opening myself up in other areas has made people feel like they're more connected to me. So then they're more likely to be able to contribute in that way.
Yeah.
Has that been something on your podcast as well? Because you're obviously like you're really open on there and just have a chat about anything.
Yeah.
Is that something you've seen people?
Honestly, when we first just jumped into it, we were just like, oh, let's roll and see what happens. And we're still finding our feet now, but we're lucky that we've got like a more serious one, which is the Bandwagon Bible, and then one that's, House of Grouse. Obviously, you listen to that, Mikey. It's absolute chaos. We still haven't found our niche, but the thing is we're just getting our content and we're just trying to learn, man. I think that's where we're at. And then we can obviously see when we get on Buzzsprout, we can see what episodes people listen to the most. And I guess being on, like, obviously Hamish and Andy, they come up with things all the time and they're just being able to do things like that. That's what we're trying to move towards, not necessarily like Hamish and Andy, but like, for example, House of Grouse. I don't know if you listened to our last episode, but we put a thing together to say, righto, let's see who can get the most furniture off marketplace and make the biggest profit. Now, Lockie is killing it, man. He's got like,
I'd expect him to kill that one. I don't think he's got any chance there,
I
obviously.
think he's flipped like $700 already. Like,
That is quality.
this week. And he's picked up 2 items and he sold them both, and they hadn't done anything to him, made like nearly $400 off them. And then he's actually flipped one. So he's easily won that. And Dino's gone home, so there's not much there. But pretty much, man, we're just trying to move where we can pre-record stuff and, something that listeners can look forward to instead of, obviously questions are good, things like that are good, but just something being able to flow onto another House of Grouse. I think that's where our target is for House of Grouse at the moment. But Bandwagon Bible, man, it's good because I can invite anyone on. The thing is, whether it's Tommy, whether it's you, Mikey, or whether it's, the 257 Collective boys, or which we've been lucky to have because Tommy and I know a lot of people. I think, or people of people. And I think it's good social media for that point as well, man. So Bandwagon Bible is safe as houses. I think that's where we're at. So once lockdown's over, that'll kick off again. But yeah, House of Grouse, we're just finding a niche, man, and things are growing. So we're happy.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think like you're being able to be out there just as much as you're able to be. I think in the early stages, I don't think you need to have that sort of area that you're completely 100% in. Like it's good to be able to spread yourself around a lot.
That's the plan.
For sure. So what... See how you go. In terms of that, have there been anything that you like a look back on over the past 18 months and you think it was an idea you had, but it just hadn't you worked out really? It was a thing that you really wanted to do and you really expected it to do okay, but it just didn't end up working?
Oh, man, there's been a couple of clothing items. Even looking back
at
the first drop, some things I was like, what the hell were we doing, man?
We're grateful for that we actually made that mistake because it gave an opportunity to give a lot of stuff away as well.
Yeah.
We had especially smaller sizes left over, probably from like your largest down. We had a lot of like sizes there where like one of the boys and I, we just cut hair and we could just give them off, which was good in aspects of that. So... but yeah, definitely learned a lot, Tommy. If you want to touch on a bit more.
And even just the numbers that we were ordering, we probably started off way too erratic and probably a bit large for a single collection. And now we've just kind of refined everything down a little bit. But in terms of ideas, I don't know.
I think we just pulled stuff out of the rabbit.
Pretty much, man. There's obviously we've always got kind of new ideas coming up, and sometimes you just don't get around to them. You've only got so much time in a week, so there's that as well. But we're just trying to execute really well on what we are doing good at the moment, and hopefully that can just help us grow. Yep,
and like being able to move through that for those early stages, as you said, that early collection that you had, you've obviously looked back on that now, and you think it isn't up to a standard where you would be now. But obviously, you had to go through that to be able to get to where you are now. Like I try to explain to a lot of people, you have to have that one at the start. I don't think anyone has any idea what they're doing when they open a business. You've got no idea. There's so many things outside of what you even expected to be that you need to have that in the early stages as well.
Couldn't agree more, man. Yeah, that's
well said, Mikey J.
It's one of the biggest parts is the hardest part is starting, and you just got to start.
Yeah,
and that's the only way you got to learn. Same with this podcast. That's why, like Harry was saying, instead of trying to make it perfect and find your niche before you start, just get the reps in. Start getting the reps in. Start getting better. And everything will roll off the back of that.
Yeah.
And Harry's been doing an awesome job around all of that so far.
Yeah, 100%. I always talk about that, like being able to get your reps in, be able to do the work, be able to produce as much work as you possibly can. I know there are some people out there who would say you only need to produce like up to some certain standard, but I have always been around that mentality that if you produce more work and you're able to get more stuff out there, that eventually you'll be in a better position further on down the track.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, you're only going to get better the more you do. So
And
just keep pumping it out.
Especially if you go good. Obviously, you can start cutting back what you're doing as well because you're so well known, I think. But, yeah, well said, Mikey. I like that, mate.
Yeah, nice, mate. And in terms of that, what were some of those things that you weren't overly prepared for? Were there things when you started the business? I'm sure there were a fair few, but I think a lot of people are interested in those types of things because they're not the things that everyone first have in their own mind. I know I had a few of the things like advertising, being able to get my own, like your website out there, things that I'd never had much experience in before. What were those types of things for you guys?
All of it.
Especially when we first started, everyone looking at whether we go for a partnership or whether we go for a solo, like, you know what I mean? Like whether you set up as a company, like
straight away as a company.
man, it's just like, what do we do? Luckily, like Tommy and I got to mates and my brothers, you know, in that industry as well. But yeah, man, a lot of, you're just thinking like, what's going on?
Yeah, and it's like you're only going to find out all of those problems when you start. You know, you can do as much research as you want, but you're always going to run into speed bumps the moment you start. And I think that's one of the parts about being a business is you just got to be able to adapt and adapt quickly. So I think we've pivoted really well through all the little speed bumps that we've had. We've had plenty of them. I'm sure we'll have plenty more.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been that way in being like, it's the only way you can sort of learn any of those things is to be able to like do them on your own. And there's all heaps of different things out there. And I'm very grateful in the position I am to be able to have this sort of podcast here where I sort of skew more to being able to educate people on how to start businesses and how to all that other stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think about when you are starting something. And a lot of people tend to be more afraid of that sort of stuff because it's not the things that are 100% in their control. And so I think you just need to be able to throw yourself in the deep end a little bit and need to be able to be a bit uncomfortable as well. I don't really have much more else for you guys, but I just wanted to finish off with asking where it is you guys are headed to. What's up next for you guys? And if there's anyone out there you're listening today, where are they able to find you at?
So we got summer collection coming up. Hopefully, it's been a bit delayed, so we're probably looking at
COVID, man.
Yeah, COVID.
Yeah.
Probably looking at like mid-November for the summer collection, and we got our summer shorts coming up in that. So we're heaps excited for those. We love rocking our lounge shorts around, so we're really excited to have some of our own that are sustainably made as well. And in terms of where people can find us, Instagram is just Bandwagon Australia.
YouTube, Bandwagon Australia, all one word.
Yep, and the website is just www.bandwagonclothing.com.
And we're lucky to be on Facebook, and we got TikTok too.
Yeah,
So
all over the platforms.
You'll find us. You'll find us
You're
somewhere.
everywhere. That's how you have to be these days, I think. You got to be everywhere to be able to get found. Have you had much success over on any of those other sort of platforms at the moment?
A little bit on TikTok. They're just different environments. You can't go onto them expecting or with the mindset of, I don't know, say your Instagrams or your Facebook, because they're just completely different in the way that people respond to it and interact with you and in the kind of content that you're putting out as well. So we've had a little bit of success there. I still think we've got a lot of work to do YouTube-wise. A little bit of success there, but probably an avenue we can work towards a little bit better and pretty much just trying to keep our ear to the ground for anything else that pops up. I think we're starting to roll on Pinterest a little bit now because that's very, very popular at the moment.
Isn't it?
So, I don't know. It's hard with so many different avenues.
Very much so, yeah. It's very hard. I've always been trying to produce as much as I possibly can to be able to spread it over to those different platforms, but I've really found it hard to be able to spread my sort of content evenly across all the platforms. But to be able to get, like if I'm recording this podcast, to be able to get that on all the platforms is hard because all of them aren't the exact same as you've spoken about, and you can't just. If I had it on Instagram, it's not as easy as just moving it over onto TikTok or something like that because it isn't the algorithms aren't the same, and the audience isn't the same there, so it's not going to work as well. So
making everything contextual to the platform that it's on is one of the hardest parts about all of it, and knowing what that contextual is really hard.
Yeah, definitely. Was there anything else that you boys wanted to add in before we end it, or do you have anything for me?
What are your plans moving forward, mate? I know you got your hand in a couple of jars like us. Like obviously you've got your photos and you've got your podcasting, and you've obviously got a degree behind you as well. I remember listening to one of your poddies and you touched on that you're not using your degrees at the moment. What's your mindset at the moment, mate? Where are you moving towards?
Yeah, I suppose for me it was a bit of a hard thing because I obviously opened my business early last year as well after I ended my degree at uni.
Yep.
That sort of stuff. And you guys have talked about like a uni on your podcast and not being, I never saw it as something that I often feel like I'm in a position now where I don't think, you would have ever gone to uni because I've learnt so much more outside of university. I've learnt so much more opening business and educating myself in other different ways. And I always say to anyone in an industry like ours, you just open your own business and you will like learn so much more. And I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I'll go back and use that sort of stuff again. I'm not sure, but who knows at the moment. I'm kind of more trying to target myself into wedding photography at the moment, and that's really something that I'm trying to lean into. It's been really hard to be able to sort of break into that market because it's obviously like you're booked up in advance, so very hard to get that at the moment as well. So I've obviously been working on my art as well, sort of my other photography a little bit as well, so that hopefully can sort of be an outlet for me because I don't think I've ever been someone who likes to stay in one area, and I've always liked to be able to spread myself a little bit around. So it's been really nice to be able to have those different avenues to be able to explore. Yeah. And I suppose on the podcast as well, it's never been something that I really want to do as a business avenue. It's more something that I do because I enjoy it and I'd like to be able to give back to other people. And I think there's a lot of education out there that is able to be had around this area. I think for a lot of different people trying to start businesses, trying to start their own thing outside of like a university and stuff, it isn't always as easy. And so I think we should be trying to educate as many people as I can because I don't think I have all the answers and I don't advertise myself as having all the answers, but I think I'm in a position where I'm able to be able to give that to other people. So I really enjoy being able to be here and do that.
Yeah, beauty.
Nice, Mikey J. Nailed it,
well
son.
said.
No worries, guys.
Other than that, thanks for the print, mate. She's hanging up.
Oh, no worries. Did you like it?
Dino's got his hanging up too.
Oh, is he? Yeah. That's so good. Thanks, boys.
Mate. All good. Yeah, mate.
Always supporting. I'll be there behind you. No worries.
You're a good man, Mikey J.
Thanks for having you guys on.
Nice on, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Good
Cheers.
to chat to you, bro. Talk to you soon.
Cheers, boys.
Later, bro.
Hey, everyone. It's Mike here again. I really hope you did enjoy that episode. I really had such a great time having that conversation with the boys, and I'm really glad that they were able to jump on the podcast and actually bring so much to the podcast. I really enjoy being able to produce these sort of guest interviews and be able to bring other people on with different perspectives. I've always said that it's about being able to give you guys as many perspectives as you possibly can. And just because how I deliver something may not be a way that you easily digest, so having someone else there to speak about those same types of things is always important. And having perspectives from other different people, I think, is so important to be able to gain a much larger worldview than you normally have. So I really hope you guys did enjoy this episode. I would love to hear from you guys if you did enjoy this episode. I'd love to hear from anyone if you have really appreciated this episode. If you did enjoy the episode, feel free to share it around with your friends and share it with someone who you think would actually gain something from this. I think that those guys both have a very unique experience to starting their own business, and I think that is something that a lot of people can learn a lot from, and I tend to try to give that perspective as much as I possibly can on this podcast, and I try to share as much of the things that I've gone through because it's not something that anyone can normally relate to. So I try to give as much information as I possibly can, and hopefully we can help other people out there who may be wanting to start their own business and start anything in their own life. So if you did really find this informational or really find this helpful, I'd love it if you guys did share it around with other people because I think there could be a lot of value in this and other people could really appreciate it just as much as you did. And also on that note, if there's anyone else who you would love to hear from on the podcast, I'm always open to suggestions of who you guys would love to hear me interview on the podcast, have a conversation with it. And it doesn't need to be a specific person. It can be an area, sort of genre of person of a different type of creative field that you would love to see me actually speak to someone, because I'm loving that I'm able to broaden my horizon with this podcast and really speak to some interesting people in completely different areas to my own and really gain that sort of worldview that I'm trying to get and other people's unique experiences in their business. So if you guys have any suggestions of who you would love to hear on the podcast, I would really much appreciate that. And I always appreciate when I get any messages off you guys. I got a couple of messages last week actually from a couple of listeners to the podcast just out of the blue, and I really appreciate that because you can sometimes sit here behind the screen and not really think that anyone is actually listening to these podcasts. So it's great to be able to hear from people who actually have those experiences of actually listening to the podcast and hearing what they're really taking away from it, because that really drives me to continue to make these episodes and continue to try and improve and try to get better at these podcasts as we continue along. So with that said, guys, I hope you really did enjoy this episode and I hope you have a great week. I will speak to you all again next Monday. Bye.